Hello Europe and welcome back to Chef's Choice. It's been a while since my semi-final prediction videos, but I'm back with something special today. I've been thinking for a while what I want to do, because I feel like in this time between the song releases and the actual contest, there's only limited things to talk about. And there are other channels and platforms like ESC United or VV Blogs that do this better than I can. And just coming up with different predictions or pre-party reviews as a single voice just doesn't have a lot of value. And the bigger platforms where a lot of opinions are combined are a more interesting source for that kind of thing than I could be. So I decided I won't do any predictions at this point, and I also decided for myself not to follow the rehearsals this year. Because the past couple of years I noticed that I kind of lost interest in the actual shows, because at that point I already knew exactly what every performance will look like and what to expect, so there was no surprise left for me. So this year I want to really enjoy the show again and be surprised and be excited. But because of this, it will be much more interesting to do reaction videos after the two semi-finals, because there's much more to talk about for me. But in the meantime, I want to do something different. If you know my channel, you know that I always try to find some special way of presenting Eurovision content and be a bit more playful than other channels. And when I realized that this year two of my absolute favorite shows on TV will come to an end on the same weekend, namely the Eurovision Grand Final and the very final episode of Game of Thrones, I thought there must be a way to bring those two together. So this year I'm not only expecting to suffer from post-Eurovision depression, but also post-Game of Thrones depression after that weekend in May. I probably have to bury myself under my blanket for a week after that. And like in Eurovision, this final chapter of Game of Thrones is basically a contest with one winner that gets to sit on the Iron Throne in the end. So I wanted to try to find out whether it is possible to compare the Eurovision acts to the Game of Thrones characters and assign each contestant to one of the characters in the show. Before this final season 8 of Game of Thrones, they released posters with the 20 most relevant characters on the throne. So I will compare these 20 characters with the top 20 acts and songs of Eurovision 2019 in the betting odds at this moment before rehearsals. Quick alert, if you haven't caught up to season 7 of Game of Thrones, this video might contain some spoilers, especially seeing that these 20 characters are still alive. So if you don't want me to ruin your experience of watching the show, you might want to stop watching the video now. Now let's finally start with the who is who between ESC 2019 and GOT Season 8. It wasn't easy to assign a unique character to all the top 20 contestants, and there are a few that are a bit far-fetched, but most of them make a surprising amount of sense somehow. So here they are in random order. I start off with Arya Stark. She's the youngest character that's basically just fighting not for the throne in particular, but for revenge for all the bad things that happened to her. She's also probably the most fearless of all the characters and the one that can sneak up from behind and suddenly stand on top in the end. She's witty, she's strong, and is able to transform herself literally into any kind of person she wants to be. All of that made me think of one contestant at Eurovision in particular, who also surprised everyone this year, and that is Switzerland's Luca Hänni. Who would have thought that Switzerland would compete with such a song and suddenly be one of the top favorites to win the show? He's young, he's fresh, he's an agile dancer, so he's the perfect Arya Stark. Next up is Bran Stark. He's the most mysterious of all the characters. As the all-knowing three-eyed raven, he stands above the rest. If knowledge is power, he might be the most powerful character of all of them. At the same time, he courageously faces the biggest danger, being the Night King's main target. Personally, I'm a bit annoyed by his character, because if you know literally everything that has ever happened, and to a degree also what will happen, why don't you give more advice to the people around you? But he's too transcendent to think about such trivial things. So being this very spiritual character, the best act to compare him with at Eurovision this year is obviously Norway's Ktheju. The three-eyed raven is basically the spirit in the sky, and also he comes from far north, and like Ktheju, it's kind of unpredictable what is going to happen with his story. So in my mind, they are the perfect match. Next on the list is Brienne of Tarth. She's one of my favorite characters. A strong woman fighting like the best of them. She's loyal, she's honest and very pure at heart. She fights for honor, not for fame or power. She's got a very regal posture, and her androgynous appearance gives her a very unique aura. In my mind, she might be one of the best options to have as the ruler of the Seven Kingdoms, even though she might not have that goal in mind at all. Her unique appearance and personality made me think of Greece's Catherine Duska. Despite the very pink and bright music video, there's something very powerful and brave in her appearance as well. She's got a unique voice and a song that's standing out like Brienne. The next character is Cersei Lannister. She's not fighting for the throne, she's fighting to defend it. In her mind, she deserves to be on top, despite that there's no heritage right at all. The Lannisters conquered the throne by killing the latest king, which was basically the starting point of the whole show. Cersei is the most ruthless and fierce character of the show. All she cares for are her children and herself, and since all her children are dead, she's got nothing to lose, and will do whatever it takes to win. Her biggest fault in the show, as it seems right now, is underestimating the power of her opponents, the White Walkers, though. But she conquered the odds several times in the past and basically replayed the game of losing the throne and winning it back over and over again, which brings me to Cyprus's Tamta, that tries to achieve what Eleni Furera barely missed last year. Both Cersei and Tamta come from the south, and with that there's a lot of fuego in their hearts, and they will passionately fight as long as they can. From one fierce queen to the next, Daenerys Targaryen. One of the most feared and most loved characters of the show at the same time. With her, everything is possible. She's one of the most rightful heirs to the throne and brings the leadership skills that the queen needs. But at the same time, she's constantly balancing on the fine line between fighting tyranny and becoming a tyrant herself in the process. No one knows what she and her dragons are capable of if push comes to shove, and with Jon Snow snatching the birthright to the throne away from under her, there's no way to foresee how she will react. In her mind, the Seven Kingdoms belong to her and her alone. She can see her kingdom now, quand elle révèle la reine. There's no better Eurovision act to represent her this year than Francis Bilal Halsani. Like her, he's convinced to be king already, he's got his army of fans and he's willing to fight for his kingdom, despite there being others that might deserve it more than him. Up next is Sir Davos Seaport. I'm not sure why he got his own poster, but Gendry, who's at least a Baratheon bastard and therefore has a claim to the throne, didn't. But he's one of the wisest and calmest characters of the show. One that stays in the background analyzing and not bringing too much attention to himself. But that doesn't make him a coward. If need be, he's willing to wield the sword and be on the battlefield as well. He's a bit passive but reliable. In my mind, he'd make a great Hand of the King, but not king himself. He was one of the hardest characters to assign to a Eurovision act this year, but his unobtrusiveness and quiet demeanour made me think of Slovenia's Sala Kraljic and Gaspar Sandl. They just want to sing for themselves. They don't really care about the stage and the contest around them. Their song is a solid contestant, but not actually fighting at the top front of the pack. But quiet waters run deep, so like with Sir Davos, we might have a surprise ahead of us. The next character is Euron Greyjoy. He's quite a latecomer to the game. There's not a whole lot we know about him, except that he's arrogant and not afraid to show off his masculinity. He's the archetype of the bad boy that still has this strange power of attraction that women and men are at risk to fall for. He is fighting for himself and his house from the Iron Islands. If you're not with him, he's against you, and he probably won't be afraid of burning bridges quickly once you've given him what he wants. Only based on his open flaunting of his masculinity, I think Azerbaijan's Chingiz is the most relatable act at Eurovision this year. He's showing what he's got, and if you're not willing to go his way, he's got some truth for you. Shut up about it. Next on my list is the Hound, or Sandor Clegane. He's an outcast. For a long time he's been used to fighting for himself. He does have a good heart once you make it through the rocket shell. He might push you away because what he wants is to find a place where people just let him live in peace. He's strong, and once he becomes a friend, he will protect and fight for you no matter what. I don't think he wants to be king at all, because he despises the system of monarchy and knightship, because he saw what happens behind the righteous facade. Because of his immenent strength and the will to fight his dark past, I think the best Eurovision act to assign to him is Armenia's Srbuk. Also, he's afraid of fire, which is a funny coincidence given Armenia's complicated relationship to Azerbaijan, and that Azerbaijan was all about fire at Eurovision 2012. Character number 9 is Jaime Lannister. He's the one character that probably went through the biggest change during the past 7 seasons of the show. Starting off as the arrogant, all-knowing, egoistic douchebag, he slowly but surely found his good side. Now he's turned his back on his sister, at least it seems that way, and fights for survival, not loyalty to his bloodline. He did a lot of bad things, but mainly out of naivety and blind loyalty to his sister slash lover slash mother of his children. But in the meantime, he also did a few good deeds to redeem himself. Can we trust him? I think at least until the White Walkers are killed, yes. But what happens afterwards might be another story. The Eurovision act that I assigned to him is Russia's Sergei Lazarev. Not because of Jaime's arrogance or his shady past, but because if there's a fairy tale knight in Game of Thrones, it's Jaime Lannister. And that just fits perfectly to Sergei's song this year. Next up is Jon Snow, aka Aegon Targaryen. He's probably the biggest favourite to claim the Iron Throne. Not only is he the actual rightful heir to the throne, but he also learned what it means to be a leader, what it means to make hard decisions. His biggest problem is that he listens too much to his heart and not his brain, though. So he might get outsmarted by other players in the game easily. He's emotional, he has loved and lost. Now he's in love again, but has to face the hard truth of how to deal with his auntie, Daenerys. He made it clear that he doesn't want a throne, nor any title for that matter, but it might be his duty to stand up and do what's best for the people of Westeros. Now, like Jon, there's one strong favourite this year at Eurovision as well, at least regarding the betting odds, and that of course is Netherlands' Duncan Lawrence. Like Jon, he's emotional, he got screwed over by love and is suffering from it. There's a dense melancholy surrounding both of them, which makes them the best match in my mind. So we made it through half of the 20 comparisons, but there are still 10 to go. Next is Lord Varys. After the death of Littlefinger, he's probably the most scheming and most opportunistic character of the show. He even said himself that he's willing to work with whomever suits him best at any given moment. Once he sees himself on the losing side, he just switches and joins the opponent. He's the influencer, and if he'd live in the real world, he'd probably be constantly on Twitter and have a huge amount of little birds that he follows to get insight into everything that happens around him. If you have a secret, he's not the one to tell it, because it will get out if it serves him well. At the same time, he can be very useful as long as you provide him with the luxuries and the life standards he needs and is comfortable with. He's an informant, not a leader or a fighter, and he will be the first to flee the scene of a crime to find another place to work. His ability to adapt and to tell everybody what they want to hear to make him seem like the perfect partner are very reminiscent of a chameleon, which is why Malta's Michaela is the best Eurovision act to compare him with. Don't underestimate them, because they could come out close to the top in the end. The throne and the trophy might not be what they crave, but they might stand right next to it in the end. Next is Missandei. Like Sir Davos, I wouldn't have expected her to get her own poster because there's no way she'll make it to the throne. For that, she's far too unimportant and far too good for this world. She's too clean and too nice to bear the circumstances that the life on top of the Red Keep brings with. She's a reliable advisor, and her wisdom and ability to speak different languages make her a great diplomat, but not a leader. So, nice, clean, different languages. Does that remind you of a song at Eurovision this year? Of course, there's no better comparison than Denmark's Leonora. She might bring her own throne to the stage, but she probably just keeps it warm for the real winner, because she will probably not be standing close to it in the end. Now, don't mistake Missandei with Melisandre, because that's who's next. The Red Witch, who's acting solely based on her faith in the Lord of Light, might have disappeared for the moment, but I'm sure she's somewhere just waiting for her chance to get back in the game and convince someone that her way is the right way, and that the Lord of Light is the only true God. If that's the case, the prophecy of Azor Ahai, the story of the hero and his sword Lightbringer that got its strength by being pushed into the chest of the hero's lover, might be the biggest clue to how this whole story will end. But even that prophecy can be interpreted in different ways. Is it the reborn Jon Snow that has to kill Daenerys to get to the end? Or maybe the other way around? Or is there even another possible outcome? I don't know. But Melisandre is a firm believer, and she proved before that her magical powers that are gifted to her by the Lord of Light are very, very much real. So why shouldn't the rest be real too? The only act at Eurovision in the top 20 this year that could be described as a magical fairy tale witch figure surely is Australia's Kate Miller-Heidke. Her national final performance haunts me to this day, and if it was the God of Light that came up with her performance, then I lost faith in him a long time ago. But inscrutable are the ways of God, so who knows what will happen. Poster number 14 shows Sam Tarly. one of the most lovable characters of the show. He's constantly underestimated by everyone, even himself, but surprised us many times already with his strength, courage and wisdom. He's not afraid to break the rules if it's needed or to think outside the box. He's one of the most intellectual figures, but at the same time no stranger to the battlefield, if he needs to protect his loved ones. His loyalty knows no boundaries, and personally I hope we will see a lot more of him until the end. He would need strategic help to defend his kingdom, but as a leader, I would trust him with my life. Surprisingly, there are not a lot of intellectual entries in Eurovision's top 20 so far, but one of the smartest lyrics and kind of rule-breaking music comes from Italy's Mahmood. It's one of the entries that got better and better for me, like Samwell Tarly, and given the daddy issues that both of them have, they do make a great match. Now, I know you've been waiting for her, Lady Sansa Stark, the living #MeToo hashtag that started off as this young naive wannabe princess that realized far too quickly that life as a woman surrounded by men in power is not as glamorous as she hoped it to be. She's been used, abused and tortured. But she came out stronger than ever, and her storyline has just known one direction, and that is upwards. She's learned from her mistakes and uses her brain rather than her heart to make decisions now. Her pushover days are gone, so if you want her on your side, you need to give her something in return. And right now, that's the sovereignty of the North. So she might not be Queen in King's Landing, but maybe the Queen of the North. And for that, she should be proud. If that hint wasn't enough, of course Santa's Eurovision act is North Macedonia's Tamara Todevska, and her song might even be the hymn for the past couple of seasons of Game of Thrones. Only 5 more characters to go. The first being Ser Jorah Mormont, the on and off companion of Daenerys Targaryen that could never achieve what Jon Snow did within a few episodes, and that is getting Khaleesi into his bed. In love that has never been reciprocated, he found himself deeper and deeper in the friend zone, that by now you might even call him a friend of a friend. I don't need to hint any further, you know his Eurovision act is the Czech Republic's Lake Malawi, or at least their singer Albert Czerny. Jorah is a strong fighter but never demanded power like his cousin Lyanna, so the throne is probably not what he wants, but he'll keep fighting for his queen until the bitter end. The next poster shows Theon Greyjoy. For a long time he lived and acted in shame over being shunned by his father, the ruler of the Iron Islands, and after that the torture by Ramsay Bolton. But then he finally got his balls back, metaphorically, not literally, and manned up to save Sansa from Ramsay, helped Daenerys to sail over the narrow seas, and might now have one of the most important roles in protecting Bran Stark during the Battle of Winterfell. So in a way you might say his blindfolds came off and he finally realized what's important. So it's a little far-fetched, but there was no other character that I could pair Spain's Mickey and his Happy Party song with, except him. But still, I think it makes enough sense to stand behind it. And Theon Greyjoy has always been one of the most interesting characters of the show, so it might even be a compliment. Number 18 is Tyrion Lannister. Who would have predicted by the start of season 1 that this unwanted Lannister offspring would become such a likable character in the end? He's one of the people that I will miss the most when the show ends, and unfortunately a few things hint that he might not make it to the final episode. Although the good thing about the White Walkers is that even the dead characters will probably still be part of the show until they are destroyed eventually. If they are, that is. Tyrion started off as this whoremongering son of a bitch that just wanted life in luxury so he could spend his fortune on prostitutes and wine. But over time it became clear that what he wants is love. Love by his parents, his siblings and his women. Unfortunately, he hasn't been lucky in the relationship department, so he might ask himself if it's too late for love by now. So the best song and act for him, of course, comes from Sweden's John Lundvik. They couldn't visually be any more different, but it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? The second to last character is Grey Worm. Being freed from slavery by Daenerys, the mother of dragons, he's so far been nothing but faithful to her, blindly going into every battle because she said so. But will that change if she starts becoming the Mad Queen? Grey Worm is quiet but smart, and kind of an exotic character since Westeros is not a very racially diverse place. The battle armors of the Unsullied and the exoticism of his character and the quiet but smart personality made me think of Portugal's Cornell Osiris as his Eurovision match. It's not one of the matches I'm most happy with, but I wanted unique matches without repetition, so that's the one that was basically left for him. But especially his battle armors and Conan's performance jewelry still make it acceptable in my book. But now, last but not least, the biggest threat of humanity, the Night King. As the leader of the White Walkers and the army of the dead, he's marching south, destroying everything in his way. And on the wings of his dragon that he snatched from Daenerys, it seems there's no way to stop him. The Battle of Winterfell is starting in the next episode, and I expect it to last at least 2 episodes. Either at least half a dozen of our favorite characters will die and join the army of the dead in the process, only to march further down to face Cersei in King's Landing, or Winter is defeated in Winterfell, and the real politics of who deserves the throne will be discussed. But the Night King doesn't care for politics. He acts out of pure rage, out of pure hatred. And if he wins, it will be only hate that prevails. So there wasn't really no question on which act represents the Night King at Eurovision. There's only one, Iceland's Hatari. They are the ESC manifestation of the White Walkers, and I want to see them grab the trophy. But there are too many opponents on the field that need to be defeated and too many hurdles to overcome, like hitting the right notes in the chorus. But for now, I still hope that hate might in fact prevail this year in an ironic sense, and that the trophy goes to the winner up north. So these are all the 20 comparisons. I had a lot of fun choosing these pairs, and somehow I'm quite happy with the matchups. What do you think? Do you see other pairings? Of course, these included only the top 20 from the betting odds, but there would be many fun pairings from the other countries as well. So what would you come up with? Tell me in the comments. Of course, if you liked this idea, please give it a thumbs up so I know that I could do other things like that again sometime. And if you like my different style of videos, please subscribe. For now, I wish you a great rehearsal season. As I said, I probably won't be watching any of them if I can avoid them at all. But I will try to do a video in between as well. Maybe not about the rehearsals, but I will surely find something to talk about. For now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.